Today's podcast is on the TV show Preacher from also the graphic novel from DC Comics Vertigo. This comic book, there was adaptation into a TV show, is based off the preacher, Jesse Custer, a preacher from a small Texas town and Anlavilla. Custer is accidentally possessed by a supernatural creature named the Genesis, the infant of the unauthorized and unnatural coupling of an angel and a demon. The incident flattens Custer's church and kills his entire congregation. And that's in the actually in the comic book, but I'm going to talk about the actual TV show. So, television series. Okay. Television series also from the same, character. Television series starts off as an entity was flying through the cosmos and inhabits in Earth and takes over a preacher in Ethiopia. It's probably Ethiopia or in Africa. I'm not really sure, but I just say for the sake of right now, we'll just say Ethiopia. The power was too great for him to contain, and he's exploiting and killing them. Now, it later inhabits a preacher named of Jesse Custer. Jesse Custer was more of an alcoholic and probably not someone of faith, but he probably took on the mantle from his father, who was also a preacher at the time. Now, it starts off as when Jesse gets inhabited by the abilities of this creature, or that creature entity. It says that he has the ability to speak in the words of existence. Now, in this adaptation of the comic book, now they do, placate a lot of other characters from the comic book, such as Tulip O'Hare, who plays his girlfriend, and Cassidy, who plays his, I don't want to say his best friend. I'm assuming I thought it was his best friend in the comic book, but Cassidy plays Irish vampire. Also, Arseface was the kid who shot himself in the face in the comic book. He's also placated in here. Now the series is, basically him, working in the church, but there was not much congregation in the beginning. But after that ability hit him, more and more people start flocking into the church because he started healing people and speaking into existence. His church became grew even bigger and bigger. At the same time, I guess heaven found out a big mix-up, and they went down to earth to basically stop this from happening. Now, the two angels that were, let's look up the angels. See, no, that's that. The angels. See, the angels in here were, Floor and was one of the angels, and Dominique. They're not going to show me his full name, but anyway, the two angels were trying to come down and stop from happening. They're trying to get back the ability that was taken from heaven. Now, I guess they realized that Jesse's not going to give up that so easily. So, and I guess in a way they were supposed to take this ability from him was through cutting his body up and taking the entity back. Needless to say, that was not going to happen. So, a fight ensues and the angels get destroyed. In this depiction of angels, the angels, when they die, they can come back, and basically their carcasses, their bodies are still there, so they can die multiple times and just keep coming back. So with Jesse's girlfriend, played by Tulip, they embark on a journey to try to find God. Now, they convinces the congregation he can speak to God, and I guess they had some sort of two-way ability mirror or something to go talk to him, because they hooked up some sort of projector, and that's when they find out God apparently just left. So they had to go on a cross-country trip to find God. At the same time, while this is happening, the angels couldn't stop Custer and could get get it back, so they hire the Saint Killer, who was a cowboy back in the, I guess, 1800s. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna look at the Saint Killer right here. You know, the Saint Killer. The Saint Killer is the title of a man named William. During the Civil War, he earned the nickname the Butcher of Gettysburg. After his death, he was damned for eternity. Now, the story they're talking about in here is the story where, William was, trying to feed his sick wife and his, ailing daughter, and he went to town to do something for his kids. Well, he had some psychopaths or some pricks who basically didn't take too kind of him, and they beat him to death. He goes back and finds out his kids and everything is dead. So when he goes back to that town, he unleashed basically hell all over that town. And what you see in the TV show is basically a reverse story. He had already died, but he's living his eternal hell. That's what they mean by damnation, because he's basically reliving the same life over and over again. And the angels hired him to kill Custer because they couldn't get the job done. And that's part of the story. It's in the graphic novel. It's also in the TV show as well. And they get that pretty close, pretty good. There's another character on the show that I like to talk about for a second. Ass Face. Arse Face, what they call him. Arse Face. Now, and I'm going to read the summary to you. Eugene Edward Root, also known as Arse Face, is a boy who was horribly disfigured in his face and speech due to disfigurement. His father, they didn't even say it, but to disfigure, he was shot in the face. His father stopped him from attempting to church. I don't know why it's nonsense. I don't know why they just rambling. They're not giving a good description. Well, this is the crappy one. I'm going to read this one instead. And it was a kind of effects, and it was received critically praised. What the hell? He was shot in the face. In the TV show, his girlfriend and committed suicide, and he ended up getting shot in the face. But in the comic book, it was also over his love for the group, for the lead singer, Kurt Cobain. There's got to be some better. They got to give a better description. Osprey's character. Okay, I'm gonna give you a better synopsis on him. When he saw his father being held at gunpoint by an unlikely cowboy, he ran in shouting, "Translate, don't kill my..." Well, I don't know why they're reading that nonsense. That's not in summary. But basically, he basically kills him. She was supposed to jump in the face, and from his love for Kurt Cobain. That's the summary of it from the comic book. But in the TV show, I don't know if it's I shouldn't say it was girlfriend. It's more his obsession with the girl. I don't know if it was, he basically was stalking her or something. But basically, and the end result is basically he got shot in the face. So this story, starts off as a Jesse basically and his girlfriend Tulip and his buddy Cassidy are basically going on the road and trying to find God and getting some answers. So apparently they're not getting the answers they want. This, and then, oh, by the way, and also interesting, God's not in heaven. God apparently left heaven, and no one knows where he is, not in the angels or anyone up in heaven. So heaven is basically going haywire up there. That's why they're freaking out about that ability, and that's why they hired a saint killer. It's supposed to be in hell. I would say this show is a very good show. Quick other summaries, other topics on the show is like, how the depiction of hell and how it's kind of weird how it's basically your own internal hell. So that part of the show is also depicted in heaven. It's weird how to depict heaven. They always depict it as a waiting room or something, like an office building. There's no difference. This is, how they pick angels up in heaven. Everyone's wearing white suits and everything like that. And hell is basically, like I don't know how to say this, like caverns and just a nightmarish place, but it's not an office building. It's like a sanitarium or where a mental institution, old-fashioned mental institution, and basically there's several rooms where people have their own eternal hell. But while this all is going on, they also have depictions of, Satan and Adolf Hitler's in hell as well. I mean, this show is phenomenal, and I would say this is the closest to a adaptation of a comic book I've seen in a long time. This right here is why I wish comic books would be adapted into TV shows. Don't get me wrong, I like Daredevil and like the ones on Netflix when they had them and didn't cancel them. But I wish everyone else would step their game up. There's a TV show on CW. I know CW's Fruities, I don't know what, and some of the things that really, they really try to be too woke or whatever. I don't want to say super liberal, but some of the stuff can be a little bit, too much, a little preachy. But they try, and I give them props. They try. Now, there's other TV shows on Fox and whatever, but this show right here, this show particularly, they've done a phenomenal job. Now, I know I'm rambling and I'm jumping from back story to story, but I want to get as much out on this show as I can. I want to just tell a quick summary on how the show is being told, and I'd say, for the most part, the show is basically about a preacher who gets inhabited by the Word of God, and I shouldn't say the Word of God, his ability, and they basically was trying to find purpose, because before he didn't have purpose in his life. Probably was abused by his father. I don't know if he had any love for his father. He wasn't a very good preacher, but now this ability to give him purpose, and now he's trying to find why this happened to him. So that's the gist of the show, and a lot of hell and all kind of crazy things break loose in the process while it's happening. Also, it's kind of interesting how they just prick, the Catholic Church as being almost like, I don't want to see like some kind of weird organization, where they are aware of all these things happening. They have a connection, believe it or not. Somehow they have a connection to hell. Apparently they have a connection to the devil. Pretty sure that like Catholic Church is not going to like that too much if they actually watch the show. And since it's on AMC, it does have a lot of publicity, but apparently, no one's saying anything, because the way some of these characters are depicted on the show, you need to be all hell broke loose of picket signs, not picnic. But show is definitely worth watching. If you're a comic book nerd and you like these kind of graphic novels, you need to check this show out. Now, that was my last thing I have to say for this, but for a show I'd say is one of the best shows, the closest to predicted shows besides like Daredevil. I don't have stars, a star rating, but if I did, I would give it 5 stars. So please check this show out. Phenomenal show.